Shall we begin?
Let's begin now.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. So, now, as I said in the last video, we're going to talk about our buttons over here. And these are basically your buttons for earlier when I was moving things around this way. These act the same way. You can move to your left, move to the right, move it up and down, move it, well, down. The other way was up. And if you notice when you do that, your X and Y axis change. So the other thing you have here, and this is for, this button right here is for your height. So for instance, I went ahead and I tapped in there and I changed that to 3.0, but I could also go ahead and make my cupcake larger because I tapped on just the cupcake. I'm going to change this back to 3.0 so you can see what I meant, what I did. So I actually ungrouped them because I only tap, if I tap on the two of them, then I have both of them together. But if I wanted to make just the cupcake larger, I can just tap on just the cupcake. And I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but as you can see, it turned to the purple color. So that means I'm only working with just the cupcake. If I want to work with the bird as well, then I tap that one as well because they are grouped together right now, so they're acting as one. Then my height would change for everything. So once again, if you tap just the cupcake, then it's no longer grouped where you're, I'm sorry, it's still grouped, but what will happen is if I change the height will only change on the cupcake and not the little bird. So let's go ahead and do that, but we're not going to go in here where we have the height and width. We're going to use this button down here to pan up the size. So I'm just going to click it or keep touching it, and as you can see, my cupcake's getting larger and larger and larger. Not that I would want it that large, but it's just an easier way. And I'm not sure how many inches at a time that it's doing it, because I said this is at 5, and if I tap it once, it takes it to 5.12. So it might be every 1/8 of an inch it's making it larger. So now if I tap away from there and tap in that area again, they are still grouped together. Okay, so let's go ahead and tap our cupcake and bring it back down. You can do it both ways, as I said before. So now it's back down to 3 inches again. And it's still grouped together. So, for review, I want to now ungroup my cupcake from the bird. So I'm going to hit the ungroup button and just the cupcake, and now they are no longer grouped together again. I'll put the cupcake back up here, and I'll hit my group button and tap my little birdie, and now they are grouped together again. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the aspect ratio button. Now, I've used this before in previous videos, but I've never gone into any detail about it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the size what we're going to do is I'm going to delete my little birdie, and we'll work just with the cupcake. So now, right now it is saying that the height of my cupcake is 3 inches and the width is 2 3/4 inches. Now, supposing I want my cupcake to fit inside my card, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up a square. So I need to go to my George and Basic cartridge, so let me do that. And I'm going to choose my square. So here's my square right here. I'm just going to move the cupcake over. And I also want to make my square just a little bit bigger. So it says right now that my height of my square is 4.25, which is 4 1/4 by, and the width is 4.55. Well, I want my width to be 5 1/2. So what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to bring this up, is I'm going to take the aspect ratio button off, and then I'm going to hit the real dial size. And the reason why I hit the real dial size is because I want the actual size to be 4.25 or 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I already have my height at 4 1/4. I'm going to tap the width button, and then I'm going to tap my numbers over here so I can type in or tap 5.50, or you can just do 5.5 as well, and then I'm going to tap OK. So now I have a square that is actually 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. If I were to take the real dial size off, it's really saying that my square is 4 1/4 by 5.88. Now I have to be honest with you, I don't understand why it's like that. I just know when I want my card to be an actual 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I always put the real dial size on, so I know I'm actually getting a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. If there's someone else out there that understands the real dial size and how it works, maybe they can explain it better. I just know that that's what I've always done to get it like that. And I want to also say that I'm not saying that the way I'm telling people to do things on a Gypsy is the right way. This is just what I do. And since I had some of my subscribers wanting to know how do I do things on my Gypsy, that's what I'm showing you. By no means am I saying that what I'm doing is the right way. There might even be an easier way out there to do it. And if you find it, go ahead and do it. Whatever works for you to get the Gypsy to work the way you want it to. I'm not knocking it. I'm saying go for it. So now we have our 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch square, and this is actually our card front. We want to put our cupcake in there, and let's just say I want my cupcake over here on the side there, about right there. But I want my cupcake, right now it says it's 3 inches. I want it to be, I'm going to leave my aspect ratio off because I want it to be 2 inches in height and 2 1/4 in width. Like that. So that's how your aspect ratio works. And I didn't pick the real dial size because I didn't care about that. I just use it mostly for when I want my card fronts to be the correct size. So that is how we would do our use our real dial size and our aspect ratio. So now let's move on, and we're going to go ahead and click on our mat or our overlay, and I'm going to talk about your cartridges inside here. I'm just going to go and move to talking about the cartridges themselves and what we see in this window right here. So right now you can see that I have the Georgian Basic, but if I wanted to go back to my cupcake, and I've already tapped on the cupcake here, I can go to the overlay key, and I've shown this before, where if you touch and hold your image up here at the top, it will bring up the name of the cartridge that this is from. And if I tap that, it takes me back to straight from the nest, and there is my cupcake right there. So now, as far as our little window down here that has the names of what cartridge, what overlay I'm seeing, I'm going to tap in there. And what is going to come up right now, it says it's showing me all the cartridges that I have linked to my Gypsy. If I wanted to see all of the cartridges that are out right now, I would choose all cartridges. And as you can see, it brings up a list of all the cartridges. Now, I talked about this in one of the other videos. If you look, you will see you have some in red and some are in black. The ones that are in red, that means you have not linked them to your Gypsy. Which, if you haven't linked them, either it's because you haven't done it yet or you don't own it. But you can design with it all you want. You can take look at it to see if there's something that you do want on it. And I actually find that I like that, because then I can actually see what is on that cartridge, and I can decide whether or not I want to buy it. And sometimes when you look at the cartridges on the Cricut website, it doesn't show you everything that is actually on that cartridge. And a prime example would be the Close to My Heart. There are over 700 images on that cartridge, but you never see them if you went to the website and bought up the little screen. You would if you clicked on the digital handbook, then you'd have to go through each page. But the fact that they're out there on your Gypsy, you just don't have them linked to your Gypsy, you can go out, and if you like it, and it goes in, also it works with if you're doing a search. Supposing you're doing a search and you're looking for something, and you pull it up and you realize you don't own that cartridge, you can actually lay it out on your mat, see how it's going to look, and then you can decide, okay, I really want that image, I'm going to buy the cartridge. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody. I personally keep it on linked cartridges, and that's because there's so many. I don't want to have to keep scanning through here to find the ones that I actually own. So I always prefer to keep it on linked cartridges. And it does take a minute, and then it brings up all the 112 cartridges that I own and had to relink back to my Gypsy. Okay, I'm going to get past that. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed out and showed that feature. So now I think, I have one other thing I wanted to show you today with this video, and then when we come back, we're going to move on to the Advanced tab. right now it's showing that I am on layer 1. If I press this plus sign up here in the corner, like so, I now have a second layer matte. And you'll notice that this is sort of grayed out. And that is because this is actually on layer 1. So I'm going to go back to layer 1. And sometimes you have to press it a little bit harder. And now you can see it's highlighted. So I'm actually on layer 1. And I think what I'm going to do, since I keep moving that around, is I'm going to link those two together. Oops. I didn't link or group those two together. I think they should be grouped now. Oh, there we go. So now I'm actually on layer 1. If I click or tap, I am now on actually layer 2. And you'll notice if I do that, nothing's happening. And that's because it's actually on layer 1. Now, if I don't want to see layer 1, there's a little eyeball up here. You'll tap it, and now I don't see layer 1. Now, you're probably wondering, why would I even do this? I do this when I want to, I'm going to bring up layer 1 again, and I'm going to actually tap on layer 1. Let's say we're going to delete the cupcake. And all I have right now is my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. And that is my front of my card. Now, I want to add things to this. But I want to keep this where it is. I would go to my layer 2. And then we're going to add the cupcake. And we'll add the bird too. And I want to put them in there. I just want to see how it's going to look. Without touching or doing anything to my layer 1, which is the front of my card. So let's reduce these little guys down some so they're not so big. So now they're placed inside there, and I can see, okay, yep, that fits. That's the way I want it. Now, I could have gone ahead and put them on layer 1. But I use this a lot, this feature of the layers, when I am using my Cricut pens. Because with the Cricut pens, you're drawing once and then you're cutting next. So that's when I use that feature a lot. If you want to save your image or save what you've done, what you're going to do is you're going to press your menu button, and then you have a choice of save or save as. Now, save is, it's going to save it, and you've given it a name. And you name them the way you want to. What I do is I name them by the year that I'm working on the project, and I just do an underscore. And I'm just going to call this Gypsy tutorial, or toot for tutorial. And then, okay. And now it's saved. The other way you can save it too is if you were to turn it off and you've done something on it, it's going to ask you if you want to save it. The other option is save as, and that's only if you want to save, wait, let me go back. Say I decided I want to make a card with this image on it, and I want to make a card, and I'm just grabbing something from straight from the nest. I want to make a card that has this image on it as well. So I want to make two different cards where one has just the bird and the cupcake, and then one has the bird, the cupcake, and the planter holder or pot, the planter pot. So now, oops, I'm going to go ahead and then I'm going to do a save as, and then I can give it a different name. So we'll call this Gypsy 2. And then I'm going to say OK. So next we're going to, I'm sorry, I'm not in camera frame. We're going to press the menu button, and I'm going to do an open. And if I go to the file name, which was 2012, I have one with the bird and the cupcake, and then I have one with the bird, the cupcake, and the flower pot. So that's it, everybody. That's our lesson for today. So when we come back, we're going to be moving on to the, Advanced tab. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.